I'll make a final point here. Everything you and I do is in the scope of an exam. There is nothing you and I can do outside the scope of an exam. I'm talking to you right now. You are examining me. Everything I say is under examination. Every word I use is under examination. I look at you, you are under exam. You make friends, you're under exam. You make business transaction, you're under exam. You can never escape an exam. And human beings need to be examined constantly, because without an exam, you can never really know the value of that person. Allah is testing us in this world. الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا. We have created death and life to test you. It is not for Allah to know. Just like when a teacher gives an exam, the teacher doesn't need to know whether you're going to pass or fail. The teacher is going to give you the exam. You need to know whether you can pass or fail, so that you can take your degree, and so that you can get your job, and so that you can demand a good salary. Look at the logic. It's so simplistic, down to earth. Nothing you and I do can escape this facet. That everything in our life today is under examination. And without an exam, you and I will never know how good we are. In fact, humankind feels very comfortable in his own facade. But the minute a trial comes, the true nature of that person shows up. Shaitan, a classic example. He looked good until he was tried. When he was tried, how? He was told, bow. He says, I can't. Aha, the real color shows up. The person's intelligence shows up when he fails an exam. A person's intellect shows up when he has a conversation with someone under constant trial. That's the reality of our existence. But the amazing thing about this trial, my brothers, I'd like us and sisters to put into perspective, and then I will end. Today I'm a bit systematic in this, forgive me, but there's a need for this. You find in an exam, a wise student who's going to pass an exam is going to be the one who knows how to section or program or allocate the amount of time subject to the amount of the exam. Don't you agree? Let me give you an example. Say you go to a class and you're taking an exam, and the teacher says the questions are 60. There are 60 questions. It doesn't really matter. It could be 1, 6. There's, like people say, you know, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. What's the difference? It's all the same. It's how you segment it. So let us say, for argument's sake, 60 questions. What does a wise student do? Teacher says 60 minutes. You take the exam. After 60 minutes, I pull the paper. Wherever you are shall be your judgment. A wise student says, I have 1 minute for each question. 60 minutes, 60 questions. I must allocate a maximum of 1 minute. So that's a wise student. But how are you going to be able to fulfill each question in a minute? It means you had to be prepared. Otherwise, you will run into overlaps. Typical exam. We've all taken exams. I know how it feels when you don't know an answer. You just get so disturbed. And the time suddenly goes faster. That's a wise student. But now let me ask you a question. What do you think would happen to the gravity of the exam if the teacher gave you 60 questions but said, at any time, I'll take the paper? The exam becomes even more difficult, doesn't it? Now the student has to sharpen the pencil. If you drop your pencil, it could mean maybe you'll fail the exam. Allah says, وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. By time, man is at a loss. He thinks he's sitting in this exam, that, you know, he's got exactly 60 minutes a portion. He's got enough time. I got to deal with Malakul Maut. You know, I got him in my pocket. I know when he's going to come to me. No? You have no idea. وَمَا تَدْرِي نَفْسٌ مَاذَا تَكْسِبُ غَدًا وَمَا تَدْرِي نَفْسٌ بِأَيِّ أَرْضٍ تَمُوتُ. No one knows. إِنَّ اللَّهَ عِنْدَهُ عِلْمُ السَّاعَةِ. Allah is the one who has the knowledge of time. And at any moment you will be pulled out. Oh, mankind, understand the gravity of this exam. It's a three-dimensional exam that your test paper is in front of you, and at any moment Malakul Maut will pull it away from you. And God forbid that you haven't got the right answers on it. That's how difficult this world is, that mankind is sitting lethargic, eating away, feeding the refrigerator, and the fridge feeds him, and sits on the couch and watches like a potato at all these silly shows on television which takes us nowhere with foolishness. The kind of foolishness that's out on television with Bollywood and Hollywood and Lollywood, etc. wood. Mankind is always at a loss. Shaitan says, keep him busy. It's like that student sitting in class and he's reading a magazine. Teacher says, that's an exam, you know. I know, but I'm having a good time. That's what man is all about. My brothers and sisters, let's take acknowledgement that the reality of our existence is so short. The trial is so quick. But what hinges in this trial? If man could only understand, this is not getting a PhD, not getting a 12-bedroom mansion, not a Porsche and a Ferrari. This is akhirah. بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة خير وأبقى. You love this world. You are under trial. Your trial is so short. Mankind, understand this. Wake up, for what waits for you there is eternal. I say one thing, my brothers. Me as a human being, I have a concept of infinity. I don't want finite gifts. Thank you very much. I want infinite gifts. I want to be infinitely happy. I want to be infinitely fed. I want to be infinitely comfortable. I don't want finite. If someone says you're going to go to heaven, but you'll be there for about 10 billion years. Okay, then? Well, then after that, poof, you're going to go to hell. Or you know what? You just won't exist. You know, my 10 billion years just became very sour. But if someone says, abqa, forever. This trial is short. Like Hazrat Luqman says to his son, Inna dhalika min azmil umur. This trial is difficult, but be patient. Inna Allah indahu ilmu as-sa'a. He knows the time, but Allah loves the people who are patient. Be patient. Pass this exam. Give up the trivialities of this world. Understand the dimension by which you live in, and wait till you see what you are able to reap. May Allah give us that strength to pass this difficult exam with wisdom and understanding, that we come out as good believers, having been good to ourselves, good to our neighbors, good to our families, good to our children, good to our wives, with kindness and with humbleness. I'll discuss more on the element of humbleness. I tell you, there is nothing more important to the human being than the one who humbles himself. Allah loves the humble creature. Allah loves our Prophet. Our Prophet was so beloved that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends Jibreel and says, Allah loves you so much, He has given you the keys of the entire universe for you to control. Our Holy Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, I don't want it. He says, why not? He says, because perchance I may become proud. I don't like it. I want to be humble. SubhanAllah, if there's a human being in the world who is best, in the best of forms, it's the one who humbles himself. My brothers, no one can humble themselves until they know their reality. They get out of the world of fantasy. The ones who don't pretend to show a facade which they really are not. Observe all the people around the world today. The troublemakers are all living a fantasy. I'll discuss that more, inshallah, in due time. Let's end this with a dua. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. رَبَّنَا اغْفِرْ لَنَا وَلِإِخْوَانِنَا الَّذِينَ سَبَقُونَا بِالْإِيمَانِ وَلَا تَجْعَلْ فِي قُلُوبِنَا غِلًّا لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا رَبَّنَا إِنَّكَ رَءُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ